Hello, this is Shane with Healthcare Manager's Playbook, and we're going to talk today about the first in a 12-part series about things I wish I knew before as a director. This really came from questions from new managers. After we get comfortable, many times they'll come out and say, hey, what do you wish you knew before you were director for the first time? And that's a neat way to kind of transfer some wisdom or some knowledge. And not that I'm the most wise or the most knowledgeable, that's not the point, but there are things after being director for a period of time, you wish you could go back and have known earlier in the process. So this is just the first of those 12. And it deals with communication, because as a therapist or a healthcare provider in general, we're used to one-on-one communication with patients for most of our day. But as a director, it's gonna be one to many now. You're gonna find yourself often in front of a room, leading a staff meeting, talking to several people at the same time. So being able to communicate effectively in front of a group is very important. And also as a therapist, we probably get 5 to 10 emails a day. And as a director, and this is really the first point, the volume of information that's going to flow through you and need to pass along to your team is going to be awesome compared to what we're used to as clinicians. So if we got 5 to 10 emails a day, you're going to probably get 10x that. You'll probably get 50 or more emails that you'll need to sort through each day. But in addition to emails, you're going to be on many more text threads, Teams, alerts, Teams, chats. You're gonna have many more hallway conversations. People are gonna stop you in the hall as you're on your way to a meeting. You're gonna have people popping into your office and wanting to chit chat or talk about something that's important to them. So the touch points for communication is gonna increase awesomely. So to help prepare for that, you want to develop strategies to help quiet that noise down a little bit. So you'll want to silence some of the strands or texts or emails, everything popping up and alerting you that there's new information. We want to really silence that so we don't get interrupted, but when we check in there, and we pull up our email, now we'll see the new emails and it doesn't have to pop up on our screen every single time. Or when we jump into a Microsoft Teams chat, we'll see the information instead of it popping up on our screen all the time. You also need to set some boundaries. So get in The Effective Manager, and Mark Horchman wrote that book, but he also has a podcast called Manager Tools. But he talks about setting up, when you give feedback, the first question is, hey, do you have a minute? So if in a staff meeting, you set that up as a boundary and say, hey, let's ask permission before we interrupt each other, because many times we're on our way to get something for a patient, and if I jump in and just start engaging with the staff member at that time, all they're thinking about is, man, I just left to go get a walker and my patient's waiting for me at the edge of the mat. I just really need to get through this right now. And it's not effective communication. In the other way, I could be late for a meeting walking through the hall, and if one of my team catches me in the hall, they might think I'm open and have time, but in reality I don't. So if they start to communicate about their needs, I'm going to feel the strain. So it's always better to set some boundaries to say, hey, do you have time? Is now a good time? And if not, say, no, it's not. It's okay to say no to me, and it's okay for me to say no to you. Let's set up time where we can hear each other and really take in what's important to the other person. So set up some boundaries, quiet some of that noise by decreasing the alerts, and you'll really handle that increased volume of communication a lot more effectively. And then also prioritize. There's a lot of information that may come in that you need to synthesize. What do I have to deal with right now? What can wait? And what maybe do I not have to pay attention to? So for example, email comes in from your boss. You go, okay, I'm going to read that. Do I have to act on it right now? If it's related to information that's important for patient care right now, maybe you do. Maybe you can act on it later this afternoon, but it's not going to fall in that category of things I don't need to pay attention to. Contrast that with an advertisement from a vendor. Maybe I don't need to pay attention to that, and I can just move on to other things. So set up some priorities, set up some boundaries, quiet the noise by reducing some of those alerts, and you'll be better positioned as a new manager not to have your day taken from you bit by all these interruptions and pieces of communication. Okay, so that's the first point, is volume. The second point is clarity. Brene Brown says clear is kind. And in the role as a director, that's going to be important because you have to deliver information, and it may not always be positive, good information, but your team still needs to know it. So don't avoid communicating about topics that may not be received openly. Your staff will better appreciate that they're getting good, clear information from you and know what's going on, rather than have to fill in that void with what they think is going on. And that could end up totally being the wrong thing. So other points related to clarity is get used to truncating or talking, maybe not talking, but emailing it in shorter, more direct messages. If you're busy with 150 to 100 emails a day, your bosses are going to be busier with even more that they have to filter through. So instead of writing paragraph after paragraph trying to justify and explain and justify and explain, write it into bullet points. Keep it short and sweet, and your emails will get read. Nobody has time to read through paragraphs of email to get to the point. They'll skip it, and your message won't get through. So to be a more effective communicator, keep it short, get to the point, make it clear, be willing to take on tough subjects so your team knows what's happening. Number 3, sensitivity. Man, you're going to talk about some things that we hadn't had to talk about before as clinicians, and that could be job performance. You're going to now start to talk about your team, about how good of a job they're doing. So if you don't have a mentor, if you don't have a voice, find a podcast, find a book, find a blog, and build your skill set in tackling sensitive subject matters with your team. Because it's not only going to be job performance, it might be change management. Man, change is tough for a lot of people. Getting comfortable with talking about change is going to really help. It could be a staff member pops in and they're upset. A patient made them upset. Another therapist or somebody else on the team made them upset. You need to know when to listen and take it in and hear them out, when to act. Sometimes we want to jump into action mode because we're used to that as clinicians, but other times we need to just listen and hear them out and see, is this something they just need to be heard, or do we need to jump into action mode? So clarity, volume, sensitivity, and the last part is reach. We have a bigger team than just what's in the hospital every day. So the hospital's open 24/7. We got people on weekends that only work weekends. They need to know that information as well. So we call those PRN or per diem employees, but it's a lot easier to catch your full-time staff at staff meetings and you see them in person every day. They can get the clear messages, but make sure your reach goes in far enough to reach everybody on the team so they can have the important information too. So tips on being effective with reach are plan to use different modes when you need to communicate an important message. So it could be email, it could be texting, it could be in person, it could be recording a message and sending it out as a link. It could be a piece of paper that you put into their mail slot and they'll see it on the weekends when they come in and they'll get that information. But plan to choose at least 3 different modes and repeat your important messages at least 3 to 5 different times. If you expect that you can tell somebody once and they'll understand and change and adopt the message that you're talking about, you're going to be severely disappointed. You need to layer in important messages with repetition in different modes. So hopefully this would have helped me my early days as a director. So I am really hoping that it can be helpful for you. This is, as I said, it's the first of 12. So if this is striking a chord with you, even if you're not a new leader, this can help fill in some of the gaps. We're famous in healthcare for not really training our managers and our leaders how to be effective managers and leaders. So if this helps fill in some of that for you, please tune in and watch the other 11 messages about the things I wish I knew before I was a director. Thanks for watching. See you next time.